come to you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost.
Amen.
I've always been a bit of a fan of track and field. And as I was reading this passage this morning, my mind went back to all the things that go on in track and field and the commitments and the efforts that must be made. And I thought about the difference between sprinters and marathoners. You see, it's very different. Sprinters run for a very short period of time. The destination is very clear and it's not too far away. There's not a lot of hurdles in front of them. It's a straight shot. Not a lot of tribulation, not a lot of things to encumber their path. But marathons, now that's a different sort. Marathoners often run in obscurity. There are no huge crowds in the stands that watch them run 100 yards or 500 yards or whatever the distance may be. They run a distance of 26 miles through turns and twists and hills and valleys, through heat and cold, rain, bad weather. Unlike the sprinters, if it starts raining, they stop the sprints. They don't see their destination. It's hard to see 26 miles down the road. And if we understand the history of the marathon, we understand that those who ran the marathon originally brought news, and they were killed at the end of the marathon. But they ran it anyway. Marathoners are unique people. They run the race despite the fact that they know that they are going to be challenged every mile of the way. And somewhere around mile 15, they're going to hit a wall. And they're going to have to determine exactly what they're made of. And they're going to have to hold on to the fact that the race is worth it. That the destination has enough value that it merits what they're going through. It's interesting to me that we glamorize the sprinters, but we allow those who run marathons to almost languish in obscurity. You can probably name a couple of the top sprinters in the last 10 years. We can name the winners of the Boston Marathon. 26 miles of arduous running. Probably not, because it's not as glamorous as a short sprint. The same holds true in life. It's kind of track is kind of a metaphor for life, if you will, and there are people who can respond to things very quickly only because they know it's short term. They go to work today and know that out of a work week, they may have 1 hour out of that week where things are really intense. And when they get to the point that they have to respond to something, they will. And then there are those that despite the things that they know are going to be problematic, those things that are going to be those jobs, those roles in life that are going to be one problem after another, they still do it because the destination is worth it. They can't see the destination, but they know it's worth it. There's always been a very special place in my heart for police officers and firefighters. I had the privilege of being the chaplain to the fire department when I lived in Maryland. It was a privilege. It was an honor. Every time they got on the truck, they didn't know if they'd come back. Every time they ran into a burning building, they didn't know what they were going to find. But it was worth Every time a police officer would get into the car and respond to an event in Howard County, they didn't know if they would return. But it was worth it. Their life might save a life. And those people that they served, it was worth it. Because they were valuable. Track and our life have a lot in common. There's always the question of, can we run the long race? Can we see the value of the journey? This morning, in the gospel lesson, is a transitional time. It's late in Jesus' ministry. He turns his face to Jerusalem. He knows that the time in the race has come. He's run the race. He's put up with all the things that the Jewish authorities have put forward. They've chased him, they've hounded him, they've harassed him. But it was worth it. And he tells his disciples he's going to Jerusalem. Now, you've got to know, as they're standing around him, they know that there is not much good that's going to come out of this journey to Jerusalem. Jerusalem was known as the city that killed its prophets. It isn't going to be a fun journey. Jesus is very clear. Like a marathoner, he tells them of all the obstacles they're going to face. He says, I'm going to be handed over to the Gentiles. The Romans. I'm going to be mocked, cruelly treated, spat upon. I'm going to be scourged. He was scourged almost to the point of his life. You see, that was the Romans' hope. They would scourge you, and hopefully you would die from the scourging so they didn't have to crucify you. And certainly in the case of Jesus, Pilate did not want to crucify him. And then he'd be killed. And on the third day, thanks be to God, he'd rise again. They didn't understand. They had sprinters' mentality. They couldn't quite see the destination. They could only see the trials of the run. They couldn't make the determination that it was worth it. But Jesus knew it was worth it. The Father knew it was worth it. Jesus knew the destination. He knew what was about to take place. He knew that it had to happen. He'd been with creation from the beginning. It was he who had spoken that created everything that we see and everything we are. He saw all the things that the creation had done, despite he and the Father. Yet, and in spite of it, he knew the destination was worth it. The truth that comes from this passage this morning is that Jesus turned his face to Jerusalem because he knew that we were worth it. You and I. As flawed and as broken and as absolutely messed up as we can be, in the heart of Jesus, we are worth it. He ran the marathon that ended on Calvary, whose glory truly shone on Easter morning because he and the Father both knew that we were worth it. Made in his image, betrayed by Satan, yet we are worth it. Jesus was faithful to the Father despite knowing all the things that he had to encounter. Because because the destination was worth it. This Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. We began another leg of our race of life called Lent. Many take it lightly. They flit in and out of the race, sometimes starting strong and then fading before the finish line. Others start Lent rather indifferently. It's just something that's on the calendar. It's another color in the kaleidoscope of the church year. Oh my gosh, it must be a penitential season. It's purple. We're supposed to be a little dour this time of year. Some never even bother to get on the course. They're not interested in the race, they just want to be spectators. But even then, to Jesus, they were worth it. Lent is an important course for us all to run. Whether we want to or not, it is an important. It's one that calls us to face many of the obstacles of our life. It's a time in which we can truly understand the potential of a life with Jesus Christ by looking at those things that separate us, by being honest and truthful. It scares the crap out of us. Let's be honest. Probably what pushes us away. Because then we'll find out that we're just not as perfect as we thought we were. Maybe we're a little bit more flawed than we thought we were. But it is a time of the year in which we're called to always remember that because Jesus thought we were worth it, we should run this race. Opportunities are provided along the course by the world that makes us want to stop running. Why are you being so deliberate? Why are you being so penitential? Why are you reflecting? Come on, have a good time. Easter's coming. Why are you so worried about your life with Christ? Don't you know it's all about the bunny and eggs? But no matter the obstacle, no matter the discomfort, no matter the trouble and trial that we have with the reflection, every Christian should run this race. Because it is a metaphor for life. It reminds us that there is a starting line and there is an end. It reminds us that the race will be arduous and difficult. There will be ups and downs. There will be times in which we are winded. There will be times in which we have pain in our sides from the stitches of running. And there may be cramps. But Jesus thought we were worth it. Our life is a marathon. How we run it determines the destination. That's the unique thing about us and our life versus a marathoner. A marathoner, the destination is set. Not by their running, but for us. It's how we run the race that ultimately determines our destination. Jesus still thought we were worth it. Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, and a time in which you'll be reminded that you are but dust, and to dust you shall return. It is an invitation to a holy Lent. It is an exhortation that I will read to you that invites you to a time of penitential thought and reflection, a time of running the race and looking yourself in the mirror and asking yourself some very hard and difficult, but extremely important and spiritual questions. Will we turn our face, our heart, soul to Christ on this course, regardless what the costs are? St. Paul says, I count everything but loss if I not have anything but the love of Jesus Christ. Will we feel that way? Or will we be more caught up with the things we have than having Christ? Will we persevere despite the fact that our breath gets short? We get stitches in our spiritual side. Occasionally we'll pull a hamstring and have to pull up. But will we persevere? Jesus did, because he thought we were worth it. The Father sent him to die for us because he thought we were worth it. But the real question, the question that we have to answer about our life and our journey and our running this race, is do we feel